Welcome to Jerry's Artorama free art lesson, and I am Suzanna Winton, and today we will be painting a nose. So we're going to get started. I have a number 10 sable round, and we're going to be using Winsor yellow and opera rose to begin with, and we're just going to lay in a nice wash of Winsor yellow, and I like to get my brush down on the side and really get the paint on there, and I kind of move in like a circular motion to put the paint on, and then just pick it up and let the paint blend itself. I look for areas where I can drop in cobalt turquoise light. I feel like blue gives a little bit of life to the skin color. And also sea blue a lot of times in the highlight areas and different areas. So I'm looking for areas that I can drop in the cobalt turquoise light. There's a nice highlight area up above the bridge of the nose in between the eyes that's found. It's oftentimes highlighted on children and some adults. So I'm just going to lay that down. I've got a nice smooth wash, and now we're going to have to break so that I can dry it. I work in a lot of layers, and we have to dry each layer in between. So we'll break now and dry it. All right, welcome back for step 2. We're going to be now adding more color, building the value in and around the nose in the areas where it's darker. And this will create the contouring of the nose. And so we're going to start by using Winsor yellow again. And notice that I lay my yellow down and then I lay my red on top of it. This creates a really nice skin tone color. So you want to be sure that you lay them down separately, wet and wet. And I'm looking for areas that I can add in the darker value. And so I'm going on the bottom of the nose, up around the flare of the nostril where there's more color, and up toward the bridge of the nose. And so I've got my yellow laid down, and now I want to go in. I'm going to move to some Quin red. This is a nice red that it blends really nicely with Winsor yellow. And it's just a real nice color. So coming in and around the nose, I've laid the red on top of it, and then I'm softening my edges. Everywhere there's an edge, I'm softening with the tip of my brush. So I'm also drying my brush off a little bit, so I have just a little bit of water on the tip of my brush when I'm softening. So this is for a more controlled softening technique. So we're painting around the bottom of the nose. Now we can come up toward the area where the top of the bridge of the nose, where there's a lot of color there as well. So we're going to lay in the yellow, Winsor yellow, and then we're going to lay the Quin red on top of that. And we're saving our highlights. The most important thing about painting in watercolor is saving your highlights. So you want to paint around those areas. I have dried the second layer. You want to make sure that it's really dry before you go back in and apply more paint. So my next step is to start adding some of the shadow colors in and around the nose. So we're going to begin with Opera Rose and French Ultramarine, and it lends itself nicely for areas around the face that are not crevice areas. So I'm going on the outside of the nostrils and also the bottom of the nose, and on around the left nostril here to define this area. And I'm going to soften on the outside of the nose, outside of the nostril here, and then I'm going to soften this whole area for the bottom of the nose. And this defines the nose and just creates the contouring that is there, and so it makes a really nice shape for you. And then we're going to come up the side of the nose, by the bridge of the nose, and extend this line upward. And I'm looking for areas that I can add the shadowing or the purple in. There's also a little line here between the nose and the mouth, the above the mouth, that I need to get in some purple there as well. I'm going to switch to a number 4 round, sable round, and I'm going to be using a very strong Winsor yellow. It's almost pure pigment, very little water. And I like to wipe my brush off a little bit before I apply the paint. So we're going right in the nostril area, and you can pull this under the nose as well, because there's a lot of strong color there as well. So and around the outside of the flare of the nostril. And now I'm going back in with my Quin red, and then back around the flare of the nostril where I see the strong flesh color. And this creates depth, and it just pumps up that color there where it needs it. We'll apply some Winsor yellow and Quin red to the other nostril as well. And as I said, you want to wipe your brush off a little bit when you're working in an area, a detailed area, and you want control. You don't want to go in with a completely loaded brush, because you have less control over it. And when you're working in a detail area like this, you want to use a drier wash of paint. So I'm going to lay this in, and then I'm going to soften it so that it looks natural. And I'm dragging it under toward the other nostril and up and around of the flare of the nostril. Now, this side of the flare of the nostril is not as strong in color as the opposite side, but I am going to put a little bit of the same colors there, the Winsor yellow and Quin red. Now that I have this in, the bottom of the nose seems like it needs more color. It's not strong enough in value or flesh. So we'll go back in and we'll add a stronger wash of Winsor yellow, and we'll go back and add the Quin red over on top of that. And I'm just looking for areas that I can build up the color and strengthen it so that it will be the correct value. And this area up above the bridge of the nose could be stronger as well. So I've got my yellow down, my Winsor yellow, and I'm going to go back with the Quin red on top of it. And I'm going to drag it over into the nostril area as well. And I'm going to soften this before it dries on me so that I have a nice wash with no edges. So that's the purpose in softening, is so that you don't have the edges and strong lines. You want a really smooth look, especially when you're doing children. I like to use the hot pressed paper that's very smooth and lends itself very nicely to doing children's portraits. So just softening my edges and saving my highlights. Very important to save your highlights. I feel like the left nostril could be a little stronger, so I'm going back in and adding more Winsor yellow and a little bit more of the Quin red here. And then I'm going to also add some to the little line here that comes down above the lip. It's got some strong color in here as well. Now, I can see that this will need another layer of my purple or my shadow color. So I'm going to have to stop here and dry it.